Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, this is BestInSlot, and tonight we are finally going to address the 4chan leak, and again I use these words in inverted commas, about Jurassic World Evolution and Planet Coaster and all this kind of stuff. We're going to focus, of course, on Jurassic World Evolution. We're just going to do a very casual discussion video where we go through the several things listed on this leak, but to give you a little bit of context, somebody posted anonymously on 4chan and suggested that they have a friend who works at Frontier, and that this is what's coming down the line for Jurassic World Evolution. This whole thing has to be taken with the biggest grain of salt humanly imaginable. You know, the chances of this being real are low. There's a couple of reasons to think it may be, there's a few reasons to think it's probably not real. What I've had about, it's kind of like with the terrain tools yesterday, I've had so many comments on it and it's so out there on the internet, it's been so heavily discussed already that I don't really have a problem discussing it myself anymore, just because it's become so widespread and so many of you have already told me to talk about it. I'm getting messages on the Discord and stuff like that, so yeah, so we're going to talk about it. We're just going to go through point by point. I'm just going to talk about them, discuss them, see which seems likely, which seems unlikely, and we'll go from there. We are going to skip over the Planet Coaster and Elite Dangerous stuff because I don't know enough about either of those projects to suggest whether they are real or not. So let's take a look at the first bit first. So the first bit of evidence we have that this leak may be legitimate is that they predicted the 3 dinosaurs that were going to appear in the carnivorous dinosaur pack. This was posted on the 14th of April, and we didn't find out the dinosaurs in the dinosaur pack until the 16th of April, so a couple of days later. Now, the tightness of that time frame means that there's a chance they already found out via other methods, so that's definitely possible. As people have pointed out to me a few times now, the Spinosaurus that we only got relatively recently has actually, well, not anymore, but you know, the Spinosaurus that came out post-release was actually in the game files since the game came out, and literally there all that time. So the fact that somebody could predict the 3 dinosaurs off the DLC a couple of days before it comes out, it helps support their claim, but it's not really like, it's not a smoking gun, it's not like a big deal. And further to that, I would suggest that 2 of these dinosaurs were fairly predictable. If you go back onto the video I did saying that the dinosaur pack is coming tomorrow, the carnivore dinosaur pack is coming tomorrow once we found out about that, but before we found out what dinosaurs it would contain, in the video I didn't get it quite right, but I went back in the comments and I predicted Acrocanthosaurus and Herrerasaurus. I'd say the only one of these 3 that was a little bit harder to predict was the Proceratosaurus. So again, this is a little bit of evidence, but I wouldn't say it's a big deal. Basically, they could definitely have got lucky, or they definitely could have seen those files in a different manner. That's absolutely a thing. Okay, so now we're into the actual predictions, and this is what it says. July will be a Claire Deering DLC that will introduce a safari truck ride, paleobotany, i.e. growing plants for food in the feeder. Mission will be to save the dinosaurs from Nublar and move to Sanctuary Island. There is some decoration coming, but not much. Don't get excited. New dinosaurs are Albertosaurus, Ouranosaurus, and another. I take several issues with this as a prediction. I'm going to sort of go through what those are. It being a Claire Deering DLC is definitely not outside of the realms of possibility. We've already had what you would call a Doctor Who themed DLC, and a Claire Deering DLC definitely seems possible. You know, Doctor Who had us building all these dinosaurs in order to go into combat, and you know, we're sending them off to war and doing all this testing, and Claire's approach would be much more harmonious and friendly with the dinosaurs and less of that military nonsense. That would make sense as kind of like a difference between the two. Introduce a safari truck ride again doesn't seem that unlikely. Maybe it's a reskin or something for the gyrosphere. If you look at the first Jurassic World film, for example, there's of course the scene where the truck drives past the Gallimimuses and such and the Triceratops, and it's in a safari truck kind of thing, and I can definitely see that making it into the game. The next one I have a little bit more problem with. It says paleobotany, growing plants for food in the feeder. Now, not only does Claire have nothing to do with paleobotany, but why would we want to do this in the first place? I don't think adding a plant generation mechanic at this point in time would make any sense whatsoever. I also don't think it's anything the game needs. I also think it would be a bit like, let's assume that the idea is that you have to have like a greenhouse or something like that. You have to do some research to get better food, and then you can fill your feeders and feed your dinosaurs, right? The problems with that are A, why do we want that mechanic in the game? That doesn't sound like a particularly interesting mechanic at this point in time. And B, we wouldn't have that for the food, for the meat. The carnivores would not have an equivalent mechanic where you just pop out the carnivore meat, whereas the paleobotany is going to require, I don't know, research in buildings and stuff to function. Not convinced on that one personally. Mission will be to save the dinosaurs from Nublar and move to Sanctuary Island. Again, not convinced by that because I don't think this game is well set up for grander scheme missions like that. How would you save the dinosaurs from Nublar? Let's put it that way. How would you do that? How would that be a thing? Other than going in and tranking them and moving them. I mean, it could well be that Sanctuary Island gets added as a DLC island or something like that. That'd be really cool. I think adding a new island to the game is likely because the last DLC, Dr. Wu's DLC, added a new island. But saving the dinosaurs from Nublar and moving them to Sanctuary Island seems like a logical guess based on the plot of Fallen Kingdom. Doesn't seem like a logical guess to me based on the mechanics of Jurassic World Evolution. We'll go into a little bit more detail on this, but just after the next line. There is some decoration coming, but not much. We know, we're 95% sure, shall we say, that terrain tools are on the way. I don't expect the world in terms of decoration. I don't expect the terrain tools to be that elaborate, and we don't know at this point if decoration is coming as a separate thing, i.e., you know, being able to place benches and trash cans and statues of chickens doing chicken things. I don't know, I've kind of blanked on every other dinosaur. So that's, yeah, it's fairly predictable. New dinosaurs are Albertosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, and another. And again, I take issue with this because this is kind of like if I was predicting the carnivore pack. I would say Herrerasaurus, Acrocanthosaurus, and then my third one was hesitant. Those were the two obvious ones. Albertosaurus and Tyrannosaurus, given their presence in Jurassic Park history. Albertosaurus is one of the most famous dinosaurs from Jurassic Park Operation Genesis because of its cry. Those are both very obvious dinosaurs for inclusion, and putting the two obvious dinosaurs in and then saying and another because maybe you couldn't think of a third obvious one and this kind of gives you a bit of leeway is very suspicious to me. This is kind of like what psychics do when they're doing a cold reading, right? They kind of give you a little bit of information that's based on body cues and just getting to know you, and then they leave the rest of it open and they let your mind interpret the blanks, and when that comes true, because you're basing it on your own personality, they can claim to be psychic and you give them lots of money, right? It seems cold ready to me. The rest of it is very specific. It really is. And we'll find out in July whether this is the case. I actually think it might hit a little earlier than July, but we'll see. The point is, we'll find out in July if this is true, but I would suggest that a lot of this stuff that we're reading right here is less than convincing, I would say. There was a big leak. You got to remember as well, there was a big leak, and again inverted commas, about the game on 4chan before the game even came out. We got tons of information, and it all turned out to be trash. All of it turned out to be trash. But the reason people want this leak to be real is really because of the next slide. I say slide, it's not slide anymore. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my voice these days. It's all... December will be a 1993 pack with Nublar and Sonar. Classic Jeep track ride to get around. Missions will be to get Jurassic Park back online. Okay, again, issues with this one. Well, first of all, this would be awesome, obviously. This is something we all really want. We all want a classic Jurassic Park pack with some of the original aesthetics, the building designs, the Jeep designs, maybe some of the classic skins coming back, all that kind of stuff. You know, that's definitely something high on the list for a lot of people watching this video. I like no doubt about that. And if they wanted to make people happy, a 1993 Jurassic Park pack would be a great way to do it. But there were rumours that Frontier wanted to do this pre-release. They wanted to put in a lot more 1993 Jurassic Park stuff right away, and it got shut down by Universal. Now this, again, is a rumour. We don't know anything for sure, but they wanted it. There's been a big emphasis on Jurassic World Evolution being a Jurassic World game. Now, I've never personally thought that was logical, because if you look at things like Lego Jurassic World, it includes loads of nods to the original Jurassic Park, including playing through the original Jurassic Park. It's got all the original skins and stuff as well, all the original environments. Even the same with like the new Jurassic World games. So it never really made much sense to me that there was this big focus on Jurassic World, where the other parts of the franchise haven't had to do the same thing. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. So that kind of makes it seem like this is unlikely. Plus the fact they were supposedly interested in doing this in the first place and they got shut down by Universal. What would Sauna have to do with a 1993 pack? I have no idea. Sauna's got nothing to do with Jurassic Park 1993. Sauna existed but wasn't used at all in Jurassic Park 1993. And mission to get Jurassic Park back online again. I'm just not convinced. It feels like an easy prediction. What it feels like they're doing is they're trying to just do like a fake leak, and they've chucked in enough. They've chucked in the carnivore pack information because we know that's the case. They found out a way just a couple days early to find out about the carnivore pack, and then they've chucked in some more information that seems just about plausible enough, but that does have, for people who maybe are a little bit more familiar with the game, some underlying issues with its factuality. I mean, we'll see. We'll see come July, right? By July, we will know whether the rest of the... If July we get paleobotany and we get Claire Deering and all this stuff, then maybe we can actually get excited about a Jurassic Park 1993 DLC, because this will mean this was true. Because that is very specific, if we get paleobotany and the Claire Deering DLC and the truck ride. The last one we're going to look at, though, is the new projects page. So they're saying there's 5 games that Frontier Developments are currently working on. And again, I'm going to take issue with this. The first one is Planet Zoo, otherwise known as Project Darwin, announcing this month or next, releasing October, PC only based on Planet Coaster, cool weather effects, looks fairly okay, DLC packs, blah 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 blah. So Planet Zoo. Now, I've already done a video 2 to 3 months ago, I can't remember when it was, but way before this leak, let's put it that way, suggesting that Planet Zoo or Planet Safari would be releasing, if not this year, then early next year, and it would be announced this year. That was based on trademark filings and just a logical look at the history of Frontier. So Planet Zoo always seemed like a fairly obvious bet to me, so we'll move on from that for now. Jurassic World Evolution 2, Project Galileo. This is the new IP that was mentioned recently, just a sequel to Jurassic World Evolution, released in 2021. We can't fix Jurassic World Evolution, we're going to make a new one. Again, I did a video 2 to 3 months ago, or something like that. Again, way before this leak is the point I'm trying to get across, where I speculated that the game Frontier is releasing in 2021, that they recently announced to their investors on the London Stock Exchange, was going to be Jurassic World Evolution 2. I've got a lot of reason to believe that's the case, just based on logical deduction. Now, a lot of people get angry about that, and I don't really understand why. We're going to talk about that in a future video. We're going to talk about the benefits and the detriments, admittedly, of a sequel to Jurassic World Evolution. But just to emphasise, because people will comment on this specifically, Jurassic World Evolution 2, if it is coming out, would not be out until 2021. That's another 2 years of updates for Jurassic World Evolution, and they've already said Jurassic World Evolution is going to get supported up to 2021. So I don't know why people think a sequel is illogical. If you compare it to every other park builder or simulation game basically ever invented, I don't know why people have this as a sticking point for Jurassic World Evolution. I imagine it's because people feel that Evolution is unfinished currently, which is fair enough, but this is 2 years away, so I think it's a little harsh to judge them for making a game that's not even out yet, kind of thing, and that we don't even know about. Planet Coaster 2, Project Einstein, in talks with Disney about licensing, not much info on this yet. Planet Coaster 2, so right, those two are both things I think will happen, those first two. So if I can figure those out and if I can predict those based on just logical information, then that doesn't really mean much, right? That doesn't really suggest that much about the leak, because anybody who's looking at Frontier closely as a company could probably put 2 and 2 together and arrive at a similar conclusion. They're not foregone by any means, but they do seem likely based on the information we have. Planet Coaster 2 then, Project Einstein, in talks with Disney about licensing. Now that's an interesting idea, that we'd get a Planet Coaster sequel and it would have Disney licensing in it, wherein it would bring in, you know, Disney themed rides and stuff like that. Unlike Jurassic World Evolution, which as a console game is more subjective to the whims of technology, like if Jurassic World Evolution, it's worth noting by the way, the PS5 is rumoured to come out next year, so if Jurassic World Evolution 2 did come out in 2021, it would be a next generation game, which would mean huge leaps in technology regardless, and so, you know, it's another reason to not be too down on the idea. But Planet Coaster 2 makes less sense to me, because I don't know where they take Planet Coaster in a way that's fundamentally important. I've also heard no rumours about this. Admittedly, they wouldn't have to file for that much, but when Frontier start working on a game that's important to their stockholders, they have to announce it to their stockholders. So most of this seems unlikely to me. Project Marconi, a real-time strategy game, Man vs. Machine, and Lego Star Wars are both being worked on. I don't know what to do with that. Why would they be working on Lego Star Wars? Why would that be a thing? I have no idea, maybe someone can tell me. Finally, Jurassic World Survival, a Jurassic World themed survival game. Again, not much info on this at the moment, which again makes me suspicious because any Jurassic World game is going to want to release in 2021, right? You're going to want to release these Jurassic World games to tie in with the film. Another reason, by the way, that Jurassic World Evolution 2 would be a huge improvement is that Jurassic World Evolution 1 had such a small development cycle because Universal were pushing for it to come out at the same time as Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. If Jurassic World Evolution 2 exists, it would have an extra year on its dev cycle. Just saying. And moving on. Jurassic World Survival, a Jurassic World themed survival game. So that sounds amazing, and this is actually something that's been rumoured for a long time. There was a Left 4 Dead style shooter, a Jurassic World themed Left 4 Dead style shooter with dinosaurs that was rumoured, and we actually saw screenshots of it early in development, and it kind of died along the way, unfortunately. So it's a logical idea, and maybe it wouldn't be that Left 4 Dead style. I mean, one of my dream games is if you imagine something like The Forest, take that kind of horror atmosphere at night, but that kind of beautiful island kind of theme in the day, and apply Jurassic World to it. I think that would be an incredible game, and it would suit Jurassic World 3. All we know about Jurassic World 3 so far is, of course, a lot of it takes place on the mainland. There's going to be more an emphasis on these dinosaurs being wild and sort of vicious and kind of natural, and sort of living out their lives, less man-made intervention. That would suit a survival game really, really, really well. So it's definitely a logical and interesting idea, but the two problems I have with it are, A, we recently got the trademark announcement for the 2021 game, which we think is Jurassic World Evolution 2, and there was only one game, I believe, stipulated in that trademark. In the licensing, I should say, not trademark. So if they were working on Jurassic World Survival, I think they'd have announced it by now, and if they hadn't, that's a less than 2-year development cycle, which is a little bit tight. Secondly, why would Frontier be the ones making this? I understand they did really well with Jurassic World Evolution in terms of, let's just look at it purely in a business sense. Jurassic World Evolution sold really, really well. It made a lot of money. So Universal are going to be happy with that, Frontier are going to be happy with that. But they've got no history at all in survival games. They're already apparently working on 5 projects, well, 4 other projects, along with DLC for Jurassic World Evolution all the way to 2021, along with DLC for Elite Dangerous, along with DLC for Planet Coaster. It just feels like it's pushing a little bit too much. It feels like it's pushing a little bit too much. It's definitely a logical game that I could see coming out, and it's definitely something I hope for, but whether we saw it from Frontier or not seems unlikely to me. So, if I had to have a guess, somebody found out about the Carnivore Pack a couple of days before, decided to take some logical conclusions, many of which appear taken from my own channel, just saying, and then went and did a roadmap based on this information, using the crux of the Carnivore Pack as their, proof, basically. They got one bit right, so therefore the rest must be right, which again is a very common tactic that people use, psychics and just people swindling people in general. No offense if you go to a psychic, but they are scamming you. Anyways, okay, so we'll see. I'm not convinced at all. I was optimistic pre-release with the 4chan leak, and we went into detail just like this, and we talked about it all, and we got very excited about some of the details, and it all turned out to be rubbish. Now this could very well be true. We'll come back in July and we'll have a look to see if any of this was on the money, but generally speaking I would not be getting hyped up about this. But people have asked me to talk about it, so I'm going to give my opinions and stuff like that. I do want to do a full video on the potential for Jurassic World Evolution 2 sequel. I've already done one announcing it, but I'd like to discuss the pros and cons of that. People are very against it, which I totally understand, but I do think there's some, there's some anger that's getting in that doesn't necessarily need to be there, but we can talk about that in a future video. Either way, there we go. I've prattled on for a long time now about this tiny ass little leak, so thank you very much for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. Stick around for all the latest Jurassic World Evolution updates and stuff. This was a few days ago now, so I'm going to try to keep up to date just a little bit more, but I wanted a few days to process and see where it went, whether it was addressed, whether people took off with it, and people very much did, so I thought, okay, we'll talk about it now. But we'll see what we do down the line. Thanks for joining me, cheers, much love as always, bye-bye. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video or you want to help support me a little bit more, you can do so at patreon.com/bestinslot. There's a link in the description down below. Every little really does help in times like these, but it's not at all expected, and by just watching the video you've already helped me out massively, and it makes you a pretty cool person, so well done you. Thanks for joining me either way, I'll see you next time.